What is up, guys? I do want to start this video off by saying thank you so much for Team NDL, my friend, who helped me actually build this Blackluster Soldier deck. And there will be a lot of explanation as of how he built the deck and how we can cut cards and which cards are the most important for the deck and for the extra deck. And my friend will also be explaining all the different combos you need and the weaknesses and the strengths of this deck. But I do want to give a huge shout out to Team NDL. All his info will be in the description. Please give him a like. Please give him a comment. Please give him a sub if you want to, because he has a lot more in-depth about this deck and a lot of other decks that I'm sure you guys will enjoy. So yeah, let's get into the commentary.
Okay, so first and foremost, double copies of Blackluster Soldier, Super Soldier.
Yeah.
And one copy of Blackluster Soldier, the original Ritual Monster.
Yeah.
The reason behind this is that Blackluster Soldier, the original Ritual Monster, while it is a vanilla monster, it does have a use because of the fact that Super Soldier is a hard once per turn summon.
Mm-hmm.
But you can only summon it once per turn. And also because of the fact that if there is the situation that your opponent will negate your first summon, the original Blackluster Soldier can still take over. So that's kind of like the entire point. As well as just like sometimes like there are some particular layers and you want multiple ritual monsters, but not too many of them. So that's kind of my thought process behind that.
Okay.
Now, sadly to say this, I only run one copy of Envoy of the Beginning. As much as it's hard for me to say.
This hurts my feelings so much because I pulled two and I was like, no, I need to craft a third one.
The problem with Envoy of the Beginning is one thing.
Yeah.
It's too bricky. Like, getting this card is that it's also a chaos monster. It's just require you to have stuff in the graveyard. And just...
Yeah.
It takes a lot of resources to do, and like sometimes I even just search this with Isolde as like a follow-up for the next turn, which is like one of the link monsters we'll talk about in a little bit of a later point of this. But,
so basically, my reason of running 3 was if you manage to get your Blackluster Soldier, Super Soldier on the field, you can always special summon the Envoy of the Beginning. And then you can actually get the resources back to your hand to summon your Blackluster Soldier, your vanilla monster, and have like 3 Blackluster Soldiers on the field. That was my reasoning of running 3, but you're saying it's completely bricky if you run 3.
Yeah, and also one of my reasons I actually sometimes, hard for me to do this, but I sometimes actually use it for the entire ritual summon for one of the ritual spells. The one that I'll need to use an entire ritual spell, not the one that you use one from deck, one from hand.
Yeah, this one.
Because sometimes I need that. So it's also just good for that, but you just don't want too many of these as much as it's a Blackluster Soldier deck, because one of the biggest problems that Blackluster Soldier face is that its support is good, but it's too bricky, and I wish they will create a better support line for this to just help utilize the cards, but also just not stop them from being useful.
Yeah.
It's kind of like one of the biggest problems with this deck is just there's so many cool things, but running multiple of them is just not doing you any good.
Okay, I got you.
So, next up is the mini stuff. So the mini stuff itself is double Beginnings Night, double Twilight Evening Night, as well as one copy of Envoy of Chaos, one copy of Origin Gaia the Fierce Knight, and one copy of Super Soldier Soul, that card, the level 1.
Yeah.
So Envoy of Chaos is basically the Kalut / Honest of the deck. If you know what a Kalut is basically kind of like the black wing card that you discard and give your black wing monster 1400 attack. So it's kind of like that, but 1500. And the reason of Envoy of Chaos in the deck of Master Duel instead of Phoenix Blade is because Phoenix Blade is banned.
Yeah, and you can actually use this to banish your Beginning Night and Evening Twilight Night from your grave. That's the main meaning.
It will be a little bit of the problem with this because of Phoenix Blade being banned. It just slow up the deck so much because now we don't really have like a really good resource to just help us banish and just like keep up with resources, and then just the OTK with like crazy, because now the deck kind of like became what I like to call aggro control, kind of. It is aggressive, but it's trying to sometimes control the board. It's like you're trying to OGK your opponent, but if you cannot, you're just trying to sit on the board on the same resources, just deal with your opponent board as much as possible, build 1 or 2 interruptions, take a card out of their hand for a turn, and hope for the best for a later turn that you can just kill them.
Yeah,
basically.
this was
kind
a
of like
thing
the
I
entire
know.
format.
This was the problem I noticed as well, because I was bricking so much. I put in 3 a pot of prosperities, but the thing with this,
Prosperity is actually something that I didn't.
the problem
Sorry to
with the,
cut you.
yeah, no problem. The problem with this card is, for the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, any damage your opponent takes is halved, so you cannot one shot. That's actually a problem with the card.
That's kind of like the biggest idea. So Prosperity, I do like it in this deck specifically because, like I said, it's a control aggro deck. So maybe like you can decide to cut the Prosperity if you think it's not necessary. But the reason why also Prosperity I didn't run it in my physical list is because that card is in a physical card game, it's worth $150, I think, a copy.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm not going to spend that amount of money on that card.
But you would recommend it if you had it.
Yeah, if you have it physically, you can run it. Also, technically, because of the reason of the same thing that you said, and because we have Phoenix Blade, it's a little bit more consistent to OGK your opponent regardless. So, and you just need 2 specific cards. So it's like, it might not even be necessary. But in Master Duel, because we don't have Phoenix Blade, we don't really have the ability to OGK like really super easily. Maybe you do want to run Pot of Prosperity. Maybe it is a little bit better.
To make it more consistent, the deck, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
But the point is, that's the reason for that. That's what Envoy of Chaos does. It's sometimes a card that you actually is the card that you search with Isolde, and you can activate its effect, basically, also during your opponent end phase. It says during the end phase. It doesn't say your end phase.
Okay.
So you can technically find a way to discard it. Unfortunately, if you use Isolde, which is the Link 2 monster, which we'll get to, the Warrior Link monster, you cannot use the card effects for the turn, but you can still leave it in the graveyard, and then for your opponent's end phase, it will at least then just use its effect, banish to get back to hand, or you can just leave it in your hand as like a battle trap that just help you.
Okay.
So that's at least something that it does. Another thing here is the beginning and twilight evening night. So those 2 specifically, I don't like to run more than 2 because they're absolutely bricky. Running more than 2 because they don't really do a whole lot of things on their own.
Well, the thing,
unless they have a support.
So the reason I was running 3 of them, but I saw a lot of people run 2, and the reason why I thought it was good to run 3 is because they're so important, you know what I mean? To get your fusion out, your ritual monster out. Also, you can discard them with Chaos Space, and also you can use things like Mirage to get it to the graveyard. So I actually thought it was good running them at 3. So the reason you're saying you're running them at 2 is just because they're too bricky, or is there like even more?
There's really no reason to run them at 3 because you also have Super Soldier Soul, which technically if you put 2 warrior monsters into an Isolde, will send an equip to grave, summon it from deck, then you can link it off, and then you just get a way to get one of these to your hand. So there's really no reason to run 3 of these.
Okay.
Plus, by themselves, they don't really do a whole lot. You just link them to All Mirage if you don't have a Chaos monster or something that can banish them. They're just dead for the turn, and then you just like sacrifice your normal summon for nothing.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry to say it like that.
No, for sure. Like, and also I had some trouble with the deck. Maybe you can explain it after we have the full list. Sometimes I could no longer special summon, or I could no longer banish from the grave, or I couldn't use Super Soldier Synthesis even if I didn't use it the same turn. So sometimes I was getting pretty confused as to why I couldn't use my cards. Also, for example, I banish a dark monster from my graveyard and special summon my Wyvern Buster, and then I cannot link it off into my Striker Dragon for some reason. I have no clue why. Like, I have no clue why I couldn't summon the Striker Dragon. Like, I don't know if there's a summon lock in this deck where you can only summon, and like after that summon you can no longer special summon or something that I missed.
There's a particular summon locks that I couldn't think of, but like I don't really think there is a summon lock.
Because
of course, specifically,
I've had this a couple times where I couldn't summon anymore or link summon, and I was getting pretty confused. And it wasn't like some opponent trap or something. It wasn't like a floodgate.
Your list is still up, so I can just see it for a second, maybe?
Yeah, you can just check my live. You can just check my live.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it. So, how can you do the combo line with them, basically, to kind of just sometimes lock yourself? That's something that I'm interested in because I want to understand the thought process behind that and
Yeah,
how that happened.
yeah, I have no clue. So, for example, what happens is, I put whatever I use scale space to put my evening twilight night to the grave. Then I use it to get my Wyvern Buster. I summon Wyvern Buster by banishing the Twilight Knight.
Mm-hmm.
And then when this is to the field, I can no longer use my Striker Dragon to link
Mm-hmm.
summon it away. So I'm not sure if it was just like something I missed and my opponent did, or there's like an actual summon lock in this deck because there's nothing I noticed and it happened a couple times. So I was getting pretty confused as to why I couldn't summon anymore. So
Maybe it's a bug first and foremost. Secondly, I'm just going to check it right now because, for example, in this case, right, and I'm just going to do like a little bit of like a checkup with like one of the monsters. Is that maybe, I don't know, there is a lock that I cannot think of, but I don't think there is because, like, for example, I'm just doing it right now. Not Chaos Space. This is not the card I want to put. I put just a field spell in my hand instead. Let's see. So I'm going to activate Chaos Space. Discard a Beginning Knight. I'm going to add the Blood Dragon. Use its effect. Banish the Knight. Use the Knight effect. Grab to my hand the Ritual spell. Right?
yeah.
And then I am allowed to link it to Striker Dragon. That's actually kind of weird.
Yeah, but I was really confused as well. So I don't know if my opponent played something that I missed, but usually I don't miss.
Maybe there is like a particular bug. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's not get too much focused on it. Maybe it was maybe it was a bug. I have no clue.
But in terms of rulings, it's supposed to work.
Yeah, okay, that's all I needed to know. Like, there's nothing specific about this deck that you can lock yourself out. Are you still here?
No, not that I can remember. Like from the bottom of my heart, I just don't remember.
Okay, but that's fine then.
Anyway, where were we?
You were explaining why we're running 2 evening Twilight Nights and 2 beginning nights,
yeah.
and we were also talking about the Pot of Prosperity. That is actually decent, but we weren't at that point yet. So I think we're gonna move on to the other monsters.
Okay, so you know what the effects of like evenings and beginnings are.
Yeah,
For
I know.
anybody who is interested in more details, you can always like tell them go to my channel because I'm going over cards, like explaining them over and over again because people want that, and if they want the list, they have it on the side. So that's kind of the thing that I do.
Okay.
Anyway, the rest of the monsters, like we said, Envoy of Chaos, I explained. Now it's time to explain Origin Gaia the Fierce Knight. Now,
yeah, great, because I have no clue
I
why
know
we're
that
running
there are
that
people
one.
who like to run. I know that there are people who like to run Charging Gaia the Fierce Knight and a Rising Gaia the Fierce Knight, like the Light and Darks level 7s.
Yeah.
Which I could understand why, but there is a reason why I like this card. A few reasons, actually.
Okay.
Because this card can be used. The first part of the effect doesn't really matter because we're not using it for Tribute Summon. But the point, this card allowing you to send a level 5 or higher from your hand to the graveyard and special summon it from the hand.
Yeah.
It's a warrior extender, which is really good to bring out our link monsters that we want to use to basically use Super Soldier Soul, then the equip, basically summon it from deck, getting the beginning and Twilight Knight.
Yeah.
The other reason why we also like this card is that the blacklist of soldiers with Super Soldier Synthesis can be summoned from the graveyard, so it doesn't matter. And we can get breaky cards out of our hand regardless, and we can get any link 2 with another warrior or monster, or like any other monster on the field, any rank 4, anything we need to specifically. And another reason why I like this card as well, that I noticed specifically in Master Duel that could be useful against Eldritch or Accesscode, is that during the battle phase, you get to banish this card from the graveyard, target one monster on the field whose attack is different from its original attack, and his attack becomes its original attack.
Okay.
So let's say you have a Golden Lord. You deal with a Golden Lord with just 3,500. You just reduce to 25 and you can swing over it.
Oh, you can use it on your turn.
It's
It's not only when they attack you. You can use it during any battle phase, right?
During the battle phase. Just say during the battle phase.
Okay.
Yes, I know it's smaller. Yes, I know people would say, like, oh, but it's smaller. It's not one of the big ones. It's not light and dark. But there are some particular reasons for that. Like I said, it's a level 4. It has some particular synergies. And you have to remember that all of the ritual spells ask you to ritual summon with a ritual level exactly 8. It doesn't ask you to do more than 8 or like, something like that. It has to be exactly 8.
Yeah.
And this is a level 4. And this deck like level 4s and level 8s. So this is also used for that.
Okay.
Plus, like I said, it's just a level 4 monster. You can always just normal summon if you have to. And it's your Gaia name. It just comes from the deck, graveyard, and hand when your super soldier dies.
Yeah.
So that's his entire reason and purpose.
Okay.
Explained enough?
Yeah,
I think
perfect.
it's been explained enough.
No. Especially the thing that you said about the Eldritch and the Accesscode Target was really helpful, because Accesscode Target is a really big thing in this game. So it's actually really helpful.
I mean, you cannot activate things in response to his effect, but when he attacks, he doesn't have an effect. He just attacks after he destroyed your entire board. And let's say he tried to swing for game, like with a 6300 access code. You still can activate the effect because it says during the battle phase.
Yeah.
And access code doesn't have an effect. Like I go to read access code, right? Access code only have the following effect that says your opponent cannot activate card or effect in response to discard activations. And the access code effects are not quick effects, like the effect to target a link monster and gain his attack, cool. The ability to just banish a link monster, cool. It's not a quick effect. You can just make it 23 and make me survive for a turn. So there are some particular uses for this card, which I think is really, really good because, like I said, this deck is not fast. It's a little bit slower.
Yeah, for sure.
So there are reasons for that. Now, the last card, Super Soldier Stone, Soul, from the BLS-related stuff. This card, oh boy, I like this card a lot.
I have no clue. Like, I had no clue why, because I saw this card and I was like, that's so mediocre. I had no clue why people run it.
I'm going to say this. First and foremost, it is in a pinch if you have a ritual monster. It is a 3000 attack monster that can get Swing Overfang level 1. It is good for that.
Yeah.
But you summon it from deck. You don't summon it from hand. You're trying to summon it from deck due to a ritual monster called a link monster called Isolde.
Okay.
Basically, you run 1 equip in your deck, or 2 if you want to be more safe. You use her effect to send 1 equip to the graveyard, and then you summon this from the deck.
Okay.
And that's what allows you to link it off and use its effect in the graveyard to search for you one of your Beginnings Knights and one of your Evening Twilight Knights.
Okay, so it's mostly used to be a search instead of a beater.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's the reason we're only running it 1, because there's really no reason to run it more than 1. You only need it to search your mini soldiers once. Once you search one of them, basically you're going to get another copy out of your deck anyway, and then you're just going to have like 1 of each copies left in your deck anyways, and it's like, there's really no reason to do that. So for 4 names, I will not run this at 2, because you do use 2 of the names for the ritual summon, so it's not like, oh, I have 4 names and I'm only using 1. I have 4 names, but I'm using 2 of them, so...
Yeah.
You see them once, you don't need this anymore.
Okay.
So it's only run here at 1, plus it's a brick if you run it more than 1. It could just end up in your hand, and that's a shame.
Okay.
But if you can find a way to discard it, though, it's still pretty good. Like, if you have a Twin Twister, you want to discard it, you can still use the effect in Graveyard. So that's kind of fine.
Okay.
Next up, Chaos Package. Chaos Package is supposed to be the little friends or the additional supporting friends for Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning. The cards that I run for that Chaos Package, which you could cut one of them if you think it's too much, is Chaos Creator, Black Dragon Kalapa Servant, Chaos Valkyria, and White Dragon Weaverbuster. Now,
this is exactly what I'm running as well.
Now, in Master Duel, you can run more than 1 White Dragon and 1 Black Dragon. In the physical card game, you can only run 1 of each, which is that way we're limited to 1. But I think because of the existence of Chaos Space, I think you don't really need more than 1 each.
I think 1 is good.
Kind of like, plus Valkyria kind of like serves as a third baby.
Yeah.
Kind of like a baby Chaos monster, because she can banish any light or dark that you want to regardless, so she's really, really good for that. And the point is, like, you have them, you have Chaos Space, and they're just supposed to be banishing your cards in graveyard if you need to, and essentially just allowing you to accumulate the resources you need. Now, in the case of White Dragon and Black Dragon, I really like those two cards, and because of them, I also run the Striker Dragon, is that in a pinch that I need to sit on a negate or something for a turn, I'm using one of them to banish the other attribute, obviously. So with White, I banish the Dark, summon it, link to Striker Dragon, use the effect to search the Black, Black will banish White, summon it, link those two into Erratic Seal, and you get yourself at least a bounce, which is interruption, which can save you for a turn.
How?
Maybe.
Okay, I want to ask a question about the extra deck, but I'll do that when we get there. But yeah, I think running one of these is perfectly fine. Like, I've tested the deck a lot, and I've never thought like, oh, I wish I had a second copy of them. I feel like one is just perfect.
Yeah, I guess it is.
It felt just really good.
I think in the TCG it will be a problem if they will come back to 3, because people in the TCG are sometimes degenerate. But anyway.
Okay.
Because I noticed this. In the OCG, there's kind of like an honor that people don't run certain types of decks, but in the TCG, they will find everything they can to make themselves win.
Okay. I gotta respect it, I guess.
Yeah, it's not that bad. It's kind of like exaggerated, but like people will try to find FTKs if they can in the TCG. With something in the OCG, they will not do that much.
Okay.
Anyway, the last one of the Chaos Monster is the Chaos Creator. Technically, Valkyria have another effect in the graveyard. When she's get banished, you can send a light and dark to graveyard, but you cannot activate this effect. It just sit there. It doesn't really do a whole lot. You don't really care about this effect. Unless, of course, you can fix from the top of your head a card that you really, really want to put in your graveyard as a light and dark, and then you want it for a later turn. This effect doesn't really matter. It's just good for then up your deck if you want to, like getting one of your beginnings or Twilight Evening Nights to the graveyard for a later turn.
Yeah. And what is it? If I can ask you something, why are we running the Chaos Creator instead of running another Blackluster Soldier Envoy of the beginning? Like, this is something I don't really understand. Like, I understand the effect of the Chaos Creator, but I feel like in most cases the Blackluster Soldier would just be better.
Yes, but Chaos Creator is your defensive option and your option to go first. Basically, what Chaos Creator allow you is that, for example, let's say you are able to summon your Ritual Monster, but you're not able to summon it with all the effects, or you're able to just summon another level 8 on top of it somehow, or whatever. It's allowing you to get the enough resource to maybe make a rank 8, or to link it to a Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess. For example, let's say I have like enough resources, like I summoned the Blackluster Soldier Ritual, I link 2 monsters, for example, into Isolde, and then I like have enough resource in graveyard to kind of like banish 2, and then summons the Chaos Creator. He give me things back into my deck that I actually want, give me a free monster, and then I can just make maybe a 3 to 4 negates Appaloosa, which is really, really good. So it's giving you some kind of protection on top of what you already do. And sometimes people just don't have the ability to deal with like a 4 negate Appaloosa.
Okay.
Some decks like Eldritch can, but not all decks can deal with that. Another thing is that Chaos Creator is just giving you additional more options. Another Chaos Monster you technically could run is Chaos Dragon Lavioneer, but the problem with Lavioneer is that it requires 3 banishes. And you need specific type of banish to get the specific effect you want. So that's the reason why I don't run that card. Okay.
It's just like a win more card. It's like a fancy card that's not really consistent, you mean?
In this deck, no. In other decks, it's actually amazing because, for example, in Blue Eyes, you're always getting the Monster Reborn.
Yeah.
For example, if you decide to get this in Dark Magician, of course, you shouldn't do that because Dark Magician doesn't need this. But because Dark Magicians are all dark, you will get the Shuffle. But the pop 2 cards is not really that good unless you're going second, and that's not always consistent.
Yeah, for sure. But this isn't going second deck, right? Like, you always want to go second with this.
No, it is a going second deck, but you sometimes need to prepare for going first.
Sure.
Like, it's kind of like it is better for you always to go first, because if you go first, you prevent from your opponent that going first to build a better board that you can break.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that point on like, you know, you do run still board breaking cards, but it's better for you to kind of like, oh, I'm just taking for my opponent the option to go first, and then I'm just building a decent enough board, and there I go. But sometimes you can just decide to go second if you think like it's better for you.
Yeah, the reason
and if
why
you want to cut the Chaos Creator and you just
yeah, that's also the reason why I really want to run as many hand traps as possible. Because like with a lot of decks, for example, my Red Eyes or Dark Magician, the biggest vulnerability they have is going second. And the hand traps really prevent your opponent a lot of the times from making an unbreakable board. And then you can just get a good board. So like, for example, if you can get a Maxi off, it's basically either you have to make an unbreakable board or I'm gonna win. So, like, or you can't do anything, basically.
You just skip your turn, basically.
Yeah, skip your turn or win the game. Those are like the two options. So that's why I really want to run these.
Another thing I would say is, no, I think that makes sense. And one thing I would say is that technically you can cut the Chaos Creator and make this in more of like going second, and still whatever I said specifically is still apply for the going second. Yeah. It just, you need to understand that even if you're going second, you're not always going to OTK. You will basically break your opponent's board and then build your own to protect yourself and then find them out. You're not going to just OTK them immediately.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's also a reason in that regard as well. Like, going second is definitely an option, but I'm just going to put that on that pedestal as like the reason why I'm doing that.
Okay,
now,
great.
Of course, you can decide to cut whatever you want to and put whatever specifically you want.
For sure.
But this is my reason to run some specific cards.
Okay, Nate, that's great.
Okay, next lineup. This is a card that probably you never heard of or you've seen in my video and you're probably asking yourself. The card that I decided to run is 3 copies of Neo Space Connector and 1 copy of Neo Spatian Aqua Dolphin.
I actually have seen this card before, and I think I kind of know the reason why, but I did want to know if there actually were crafting, or there's like an alternative way of like another combo that you can use for, well, because like the connector is, because they're like all super rares.
Yeah, I understand that. But the reason why I like Neo Space Connector and the reason why I run it specifically is because of the fact that it provides so much advantage if it goes off.
Okay.
Like, it's provide so much advantage, it's ridiculous how this little card just does something. First and foremost, if your opponent negate this, you can still link this into an Al Mirage. That's already a thing that you can do. And get in a light engraved. So that's at least something. Secondly, if Aqua Dolphin hits the field, you're getting hand knowledge from your opponent. You can discard one of your bigger Blackluster Soldier rituals, which you can ritual in the graveyard as well, like I mentioned before. Or you can discard one of your like useless cards, get hand knowledge, and then just look at your opponent's hand and maybe even take something out from there. Like inflict 500 damage to your opponent and also just like...
And basically...
Actually, technically, if you discard a Blackluster Soldier ritual monster, you can basically discard almost any hand trap, even including the Nibiru.
And basically, so also what I was thinking is basically what you're doing is you're destroying one card in their hand and then you're banishing another card in their hand. So basically, if you don't kill them that turn, you're at least denying 2 cards from their hand, which is a pretty big deal in my opinion. Yes,
you're denying 2 cards. You can put like enough like... I guess like even an interruption with a Palooza, which also takes stuff. You kind of like, as much as it sounds weird, you do put a little bit of a pressure. It's for sure like 5 interruption unbreakable board pressure, but it's still kind of a pressure.
And it's
because
also
you can take their best cards and they cannot do anything.
I think the information is also really important that you know your opponent doesn't have Nibiru, because if you know he has Nibiru, you can just stop summoning.
Also, if you, like I mentioned, if you discard the Blackluster Soldier rituals or any of your big monsters, you can just
you can summon them from the grave.
Because what?
Oh, what? Sorry, what did you say?
I can get rid of the Nibiru because if I control a monster, oh right, I cannot get rid of the Nibiru. I'm sorry. Like, you're at least getting the knowledge. No, I confused the effect of Aqua Dolphin with the fusion monster.
No problem.
Basically, it's basically just allowing me to at least get hand knowledge. And I can discard any card from their hand that have just less than 800 attack. So that's something, and it's basically hit max C. if they haven't discarded yet for some weird reason. I don't know why they wouldn't do that. Discard Ash Blossom if they haven't used it for some weird reason. Again, some people like to save their Ash Blossom.
But you can,
for, some
for
weirdest
example,
reasons.
if they have, for example, they have 2 Ash Blossoms in hand, or if they have like an Ash Blossom and an Effect Veiler, and they use their Ash Blossom and I call by the Grave it, and they have a second one, you can always like discard the second one, or it's at least knowledge. So I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this is like, it's also allowing you to put a counter on your field spell.
Yeah.
Which is, the field spell is also very, very important. So there's a reason for that as well. Like, there is a lot of advantage. Plus, 2 warrior monsters equal Isolde, which start your combo. So it's pretty good for that regard. Like, it's not a huge combo, but it's at least allowing you to get the Super Soldier Soul out of your deck with the sending of the equip to grave, and then link it off to like a Linkaribo, and then getting one of your beginnings or Twilight Evening Night. So
also,
that's allowing you a lot of like resource advantage.
Also, I have a question. If you draw, if you draw the Super Soldier Soul, what do you send to the graveyard with Isolde, or do you just not use Isolde that game?
Not making Isolde, and sometimes actually, if I open up with the Super Soldier Soul and still a Neo Space Connector, I can still discard the Super Soldier Soul. So it's not the end of the world, because I will use the effect of Aqua Dolphin to discard the Super Soldier Soul. It will still hit the graveyard, and I will still get 2 monsters that I can link off to, maybe even the Ritual, Cross Sheep that will allow me to Ritual Summon to one of its arrows, and then draw 2, discard 2, and dig deeper into my deck.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Or you can go to IP Masquerena if I want to link during the opponent's turn with my big soldier if I feel like it, and then go into a unicorn. So there are a lot of like little mini plays that you will understand a little bit more when we'll get to the
Okay, so but you would say the Neo Space Connector is a really important part of the deck, and there's like no other substitute or other variation that you would use.
I think like Neo Space Connector just allows so much advantage for this deck specifically, especially because it's like a warrior supporter, that it's just so good. And like there was a format before that this card was so problematic in the TCG because it's allowing you to have 2 warrior monsters to go into Isolde. Because Isolde is such a powerful monster, it's not as good as it used to be because some particular cards got banned for us, and now like it's not really that powerful, which is including number 86. But the card is so strong. The ability to send like 1 equip to even summon 1 monster from deck, like a level 1, it's still strong. Like the ability to send even 4 equips, which sometimes people even did that back in the day, like send play 5 equips in their decks just because they want to have 4 equips that they can send with Isolde at every single time to basically summon a level 4 that they want to out of their deck because it's so powerful.
Yeah, okay,
and people even play Blackluster Soldier Envoy of the beginning because they wanted to search a follow-up for their next turn because of Isolde. Isolde is not as strong as it used to be because things are like kind of just in the power levels, kind of like came back to the power level they kind of just supposed to be, I guess, when it comes to all Link monsters. It's kind of like a hard thing to explain, but the point is, like, Isolde back in the day was a menace.
Okay.
And having a card that just can summon it, like, easily was like, oh my god.
Okay, for some reason, I'm glad I missed that. Noticing your voice change.
Yeah, I didn't really play that much in this format, but it's known as the Goki format, and I'm so happy that Konami became better of creating less degenerate formats. They're not like the best, but they're still not as bad as they used to be like a few years ago. Like the formats are at least annoying, but they're not like super annoying.
And also, I assume you're really depressed if you actually open up with a Neo Space Aqua Dolphin.
Not really, because Neo Space Connector can summon it from hand.
Oh, really? I didn't notice that. Okay, so it's not that big of a deal.
Annoying, of course.
Yeah, of course, but I thought it only summoned from deck.
But because of that, you can just always like it says when normal summon, you can special summon 1 Neospatian from your hand or deck.
Okay,
so that's kind of cool. So yeah, it is annoying to draw into it, but it's not the end of the world.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know.
Next up, our 2 non-normal summonable monsters that can be summoned with Chaos Space that are also used as extenders for warriors, which are Blue Mountain Butterspy and Funnel Thrusher. Blue Mountain Butterspy I run at 2, Funnel Thrusher I run at 1. Butter Spy is also useful with the mini soldiers because when you normal summon a warrior monster, you get a free special summon out of your hand. So that's kind of like the reason behind that one.
Yeah.
It's not like amazing to run on 3. It's okay. It's fine. If you have a better replacement, maybe you want to replace it, but you kind of want to also have a balance between lights and darks.
Yeah.
So the problem with the idea of like not having this card is sometimes I have enough darks. But that's the point of that card. It just warrior summon. If you have a warrior that you normal summon, boom, you get yourself another monster that can also chain block. So if you have Neo Space Connector, you activate this effect. You can activate this effect immediately because you have priority, and your opponent cannot activate an Ash Blossom. So that's
And then
then
actually we solved the problem with the Neo Spatial Aqua Dolphin. You can still negate the Ash Blossom by discarding it.
Exactly.
Okay, that's great. That's great. That sounds very good. Because I saw this and I saw you can special summon, but I wasn't sure if this was actually powerful enough, but you're saying this is really helpful in the deck.
It's helpful because it's another dark, it's another level 4, and
it's a warrior.
Just a free special summon for warriors.
Yeah. Okay, I got you.
Another one is Spot on Thrusher, which we only run at 1 because you only need 1 because we have a lot of lights compared to darks, or at least like, you know, if we run more than 1, that will be the case. But the other reason why you want this card is because it's basically, if you control no monsters, is a free special summon. That's
okay.
It. If you control, it's not a Cyber Dragon that your opponent have to control. No, it's just if you don't control a monster, boom, free special summon. Have fun.
Okay, that's all. That's amazing.
I'm not going to go over because there's really no point to go over them because they're depending on your own formats. I run 3 copies of Chaos Space, however, and 1 copy of Terraforming. Now, not Chaos Space, Gateway to Chaos. Chaos Space, I already said I run a 3. Gateway to Chaos. On activation, it's allowing you to add the Ritual Monster or Gaia himself, the small one if we need to.
Yeah.
And then it's allowing you to put counters up to 6 depending on the monster card that's sent from your hand or field to the graveyard. From the hand or field to the graveyard. So you basically replace up to 6 and then you can remove 3 counters search the ritual spell.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really that much of an explanation. It's
no. It's pretty straightforward.
Yes. And because I said like you don't really need 3 Super Soldier, you technically can run a Terraforming instead, which will allow you another way to get to Gateway of Chaos, which is a better card anyway because it can also allow you to search your ritual spell. So there are some particular reasons when you want to do that. And also that's the reason why you want to link summon first sometimes, because if you link summon first and if you're able to do all of that cool things, is that you're getting enough counters to basically search your ritual spell.
Well, the thing with the Terraforming that I was thinking personally is because you're running 3 gateways to chaos, and then you have also the Terraforming. The problem I see with it is actually bricking. That you, for example, you open with a gateway to chaos, but the thing I thought was it's probably better to run a Pot of Prosperity instead of the Terraforming. But that's just my thought process. I don't know if it's flawed.
If you're doing Prosperity, I think I recommend 2 Gateway to Chaos and 1 Terraforming. Because in that reason, what you do is that you still zin up your deck with Terraforming.
Okay.
You still get the 2 copies of Gateway to Chaos, which are technically with the Terraforming are 3 copies, and you still can only activate 1 of them per turn, right?
Yeah.
So basically, you zin up your deck, you make the room for the Prosperity, and you kind of just also just run less cards that you will get stuck in your hand.
Okay.
It's really that simple.
Okay, I got you.
Next up for the ritual spells, we run only 3 because Gateway to Chaos can search them, plus you can technically search them with Beginning's Night, plus you can run the 4th one if you feel like it, but I feel like, again, there are hard ones per turn cards, so they're a little...
No, I get you. I actually was bricking them quite a lot, so that's a good thing.
Super Soldier Synthesis, you need to run at 2.
Yeah.
And then Super Soldier Ritual, you need to run at 1. I think those self-explanatory. I don't really need to explain them that much.
No, that's pretty self-explanatory.
I already explained them as an overall, which Super Soldier Synthesis, the idea of like you have 1 light and 1 dark, idea of like getting to a level 8 exactly. You use 1 from your hand, 1 from your deck. If you use the light from your hand, you have to use the dark from your deck, and their levels have to be equal 8. Super Soldier Ritual is just a normal ritual spell, and then if it's in the graveyard, it's have for the following turn an effect to just banish a light and dark and special summon a ritual Blacklist Soldier from your hand, ignoring its summoning condition.
And basically, if I get it correctly, the thing you want to use is your Super Soldier Synthesis to get your Super Soldier out, and then actually you want to try to use your Super Soldier Ritual as well to get your Blackluster Soldier out the same turn, right? Because you can use them individually.
If
And
I'm able to OTK,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
However, because we don't have the Divine Sword Phoenix Blade, it's not going to happen that much. But if it does, pretty cool. If not, it's still, you have the resources in Graveyard that you can just banish, and you have additional resources in case your opponent negate the first ritual spell. You still have another one backup if you're able to get that one and still do some cool things.
Yeah.
So there are some reasons behind that as well.
Okay.
Now we're going into staples, which are the last three ones. Reinforcement of the army, I don't think I need to explain that one. Your entire deck is warriors level 4s or lower. Just don't really need to explain that. Foolish Burial. Don't need to explain that as well. I have cards that I want to get engraved. I have like Super Soldier Soul. I have maybe even like, I don't know, the mini soldiers. I have cards I want to get to the graveyard. Even sometimes like the BLS Big Ritual Monster if I don't see it in hand. It's another way to get those cards to the graveyard, get what I need, and essentially just allowing me to play. And then the last card that is not like connected to the six, like, choices and everything before we'll just go into your list, is the Equip spell. The Equip spell can be anything, honestly.
Okay.
But I decided to go with something called Living Fossil. It can also be DDR or something like that, but that's also requiring a discard. But the reason why I like Living Fossil is because if you draw it, it's still kind of like a monster reborn. It is a bad monster reborn, but it's still a monster reborn. It does banish the monster, but it's allowing you to get another resource to then continue your play. So it's at least something.
Okay, so the thing I want to ask you here is, because a lot of people that are going to watch don't have all the ultra rare essence to spend, and as you can probably see, I have 80 right now. I can make some room to make some extra ultra rares for sure. But now the thing is, can you maybe tell me which ultra rares take priority? So for example, I still need to craft Isolde, which seems like pretty staple. And then my question is it actually necessary for me to run Foolish Burial and Terraforming? For sure, it's going to be better to run these cards. Don't get me wrong, I completely understand it's going to be more refined. But are these cards like absolutely necessary? Like you have to run these? Or are you more like, no, they just make the deck more like...
I think if you're on a budget, right? You can decide not to run like at least Terraforming at the very least, because like you said, still free gateway to chaos. Foolish Burial can also be cut down, I think, because you have the prosperity. It's just raise the consistency a little bit more. So I think you could make the room for, better, like the cards that you have in your collection. But if you have the resources to craft those staples, it will be better for you in the future.
For sure.
That's what I'm going to say right now. Like, if you have the ability to spend on this, for anybody who's like listening or anything, if you have the ability to spend on these like staple ones before you build your deck for like the future, maybe you want to do that, because there are a lot of decks that use Foolish Burial. There are a lot of decks that maybe use Terraforming. So if you have the ability to spare this for your other decks as well, do that. If you cannot and you want to only play one certain decks, just don't do that. It's up to you, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, that's just something I was struggling with, because, for example, I need to craft some other decks as well. And it is very expensive to get these gems. But the thing is, a lot of people...
BLS is really expensive.
I mean, compared to Dark Magician and my Red Eyes, it's peanuts. Like, it's very cheap compared to those decks, because those decks are like crazy. But the thing is, I have a lot of people watching who also just need to have some budget as well, because they just can't craft every single card, obviously.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's why it's important for me to know which cards are like a must and which cards are more like, okay, if like they're very strong, but you don't have to craft them.
I mean, some of the card choices can also be decided, like, if you want to, like I'm saying for the viewers, if they watch that and everything, is that it's really depend on your own collection and what you're willing to craft into. Like, sometimes you will decide, I want free prosperity because it's really good, but I don't think I need the recount space anymore because, well, I have free prosperity. I can see it specifically more, so I don't want to see free chaos space.
Yeah.
And then you can just decide for the time being craft 2 chaos space, and then just decide, okay, I'm going to commit to this chaos space, the third one if I need it, the moment I will get the enough resources. So you need to use the resources wisely. I don't really play a whole lot of Master Duel, but like from experience in other card games that I play, like back in the day, like played Hearthstone when it was popular,
Yeah,
and
same.
also like Terra. The idea is like you want to kind of just save your resources and use them wisely,
Mhm.
and like build up your deck like over time.
Yeah, that's
Basically, even if you
exact.
start with a junky list, it's allowing you to do stuff.
For sure, that's exactly what I was saying. Is I like when I started my Dark Magician, it was really budget friendly, and like as time got like moved on, I actually realized which cards were giving me issues and which cards I really needed, and also which cards I like. For example, I crafted 3 Blackluster Soldier Envoy of the Beginning because I thought, oh, they're gonna be necessary in a Blackluster Soldier deck. You know what I mean? Like that's why,
Yes.
like it's over time you will think like, maybe I actually like the Prosperities more than the Foolish Burial and the Terraforming, or you can actually realize maybe I need those cards to improve the consistency of the deck. So that's something that I just wanted to see, like how important they were compared to, for example, something like Isolde.
Okay, I'm going to say this right now. The rest of the cards in the main deck can be hand traps and whatever you want to.
Yeah.
Craft them as the way that you want to make them. Of course, I know that your list is going to be different, and like, of course, you can share with me the later product, which I'll be very interested in.
Sure.
But the point is, that's kind of like the main deck idea. You can change things however you want. However, now we'll move on into the extra deck, which I think the extra deck, again, just have some certain key cards. The rest the cards are not like super important, but it might be better to have them.
Yeah.
So for the key cards, let's start with them first. We have Mirage, which I think is enough of a key card because you need to get some way to get
Yeah,
your
and
thousand
it is
attack
used
almost out of the
in a
monsters
lot
on
of
the
decks as
field.
well. It's used in a lot of decks as well. It's like almost like a Zeus and an Accesscode Tarker. It's like kind of staple to
Yes.
craft.
Another thing I would say is that Link Karibo, if you don't have the money for Link Karibo, I think Anima is supposed to be, Relinquish Anima is supposed to be cheaper, right?
No,
It
it's
is a
it's
super
the exact
example.
same. It's the exact same. It's also ultra rare. But
If
I have a
it's the
Link
exact
Karibo.
same,
Yeah, it's the exact same.
if it's the exact same, go with the Link Karibo because Anima and Karibo just do the same thing. Or if you think you're more offensive, go with Anima because the entire point is just linking over the Super Soldier Soul. Although I would say again, Link Karibo is better because you're never going to have the Anima in the extra monster zone regardless.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really give you anything. Striker Dragon is also an important card because of your mini dragons to just help you link them off. Heroic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres is not necessary if you don't have the resource for it.
Yeah, this was a card I was actually
But I do recommend
thinking
it.
as well. That was actually it's also
But I
ultra rare, and I
do
wasn't sure
recommend
if it
it.
was if it was a must.
But I do recommend it because of the fact that it's allowing you to easily link into something that if you have to sit on like an interruption, it's an easy interruption to make with those guys. But if you want to, you can always just make an IP Masquerena or any other link to. I think IP is also an ultra rare or not?
Yeah, wait, let me check.
IP
Yeah, it's
Masquerena,
also an
just
ultra rare. It's also an ultra rare, but continue.
Okay, it doesn't really matter. You can even make a barricade blocker for all I care. An entire idea is that you want to use these as just ways to banish your light and darks. You can even just like make the Striker Dragon to just get your monster really off the field. The Heretic Seal is not necessary, but the Striker Dragon it is because it's allowing you, if in a pinch, to get the dragon out of your field because it's a level 4 or lower. You can always just make a Pisty, I believe. That's also achieve the same goal if Pisty is cheaper.
Yeah, it is a rare.
But Striker Dragon is just preferred by a lot of people.
Yeah.
So if Pisty is cheaper, go for Pisty.
Yeah, I said it as well.
But the only problem with Pisty is that you do need a level like to link your monsters into a dragon later because it will lock you out of anything by dragons. So do keep that in mind. You will need to have a link to dragon if you do go for Pisty. If you go into Striker Dragon, you don't have to have that problem. So if you're going into Pisty, I recommend to get a link to cheap dragon link that can be linked with 2 dragons. There are like probably supposed to be one of these, even if it do nothing. Just get the Pisty and just get the link to out on the field, and that's the entire point.
Yeah.
The last link monster that is important is Isolde, Two Tails of the Noble Knight. This is the card that I mentioned before that is very, very powerful and was very oppressive in Goki format because of its own existence. The point is, this card uses 2 warrior monsters, And when you link summon it, you add a warrior monster from your deck to your hand, but for the rest of the turn, you cannot normal summon or special summon monsters with the same name, nor activate their monster effect.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I do sometimes search with this is Bloodlust Soldier Envoy of the beginning if I need to use it as a level 8 ritual material, because it's just an easy way to get the level 8 ritual material. Now, another thing, I can search the Envoy of Chaos, I can search Beginnings Night and Twilight, Evening Nights. It just means I will not be able to use their effect, so just use this effect in the way that you think is necessary for the subject situation.
Okay.
However, the main effect is that you can send any number of equips with different names from your deck to the graveyard, special summon one warrior monster from your deck whose level is equal to the number sent to the graveyard. And the point is, we're sending our one equip to the graveyard. Like I said, if you want to be more sure, you can play 2 of them, but you're sending your one equip to the graveyard to get your super soldier soul out of your deck. And essentially just get the easy way to your beginning night and twilight evening night. That's kind of like the entire point of this card.
And if you draw your equip spell, you don't want to summon Isolde, right?
You don't need to summon Isolde, and I wish there was a card that can mulligan easily that is not Magical Mullet, and Phantasma was good in Master Duel format, but it's not really that good. So yeah, if you draw the equip, it is a little bit of a shame. So I do recommend to run an equip that at least does something. But like I said, if you are really seeing the equip and you have a very bad luck, just run 2 equips. It's still fine. Like run 2 different kind of equip names, like Fossil Dick, Living Fossil, and even like, I don't know, another equip that goes with warriors. For all I know, like even United We Stand or Moon Mirror Shield can be good options. It doesn't matter as long as the equip can be used, and if you feel you need to run 2, that's also an option.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, the rest of the extra deck doesn't really matter that much, but for example, Cross Sheep, I know that it's a rare, so you can craft it easily, just allowing you, if you ritual summon to one of its arrows, draw 2, discard 2, dig deeper into your deck,
and also discard
specifically what you want. Phoenix and Unicorn are good removals if you want them. You don't have to craft them if they're too expensive. IP is just really good if you need to go into stuff. Again, if it's expensive, you don't have to craft it. Bloodluster Soldier, the ritual version, again, just in the theme of the archetype. If it's expensive, don't have to craft it. Appaloosa, I would recommend to craft it just because it's so good in a lot of light decks. But again, if it's expensive to you, don't craft it. It's just do whatever you feel necessary. Accesscode, again, can be Boral Sword if you have that instead. Same idea. If you don't have the money for it, don't craft it. It's a little bit of an expensive. However, there is only one additional monster that I would recommend to craft, and that is an Xyz monster, which is Baguska, which is number 41, Baguska the Terribly Tired Tap here. Because what Baguska allows you is that if sometimes you get 2 level 4s and nothing else, you at the very least can make this rank 4, put it in defense position, and put a lot of decks in. Basically, you cannot do nothing for 2 turns.
Yeah,
and then get the time that you need.
Yeah, this
so
I've played against this card.
Baguska.
Yeah, this is a very annoying card to deal with. This is actually
annoying,
really, it's really annoying.
Another options that I would recommend is if you have the money, Abyss Dweller is really good because it goes against Eldritch specifically, because Eldritch are annoying. Another card, number 60, Dugaris, is also really good. It's a super rare, but the card is really useful to basically have 3 effects that are going to limit you in a later turn. But if you use their effects, you may be able to OTK your opponent in the same turn. So it has 3 effects that you can use to detach 2 material for. The first one is skip your next draw phase, draw 2 cards and discard 1. So it's really good. The second effect is that during the main phase, you can also special summon 1 monster from your graveyard in defense position. So basically, you skip your next main phase 1, and you can special summon 1, like get a monster reborn from your graveyard if you need to. Probably the least useful effect.
Yeah.
But the final effect, which is skip your next battle phase, allow you to target 1 monster and double its attack until the end of the turn. So, for example, if you have Super Soldier itself, which can attack twice, it becomes a 6,000 attack that attack a monster, deal to it, I don't know, like, 3,000 because it's 3,000 over it, and then deal equal to its original attack, and then can attack again for 6,000 because of its own effect if you have Beginning's Night as one of the effects attached. So that's why I think Dugaris is really good. if you have 2 level 4s. Again, you can decide not to craft it. And then the last one that I might recommend is Tornado Dragon, because it's just good against back row. But like extra deck, honestly, the only cards that are important are All Mirage, the Linkaribo. I recommend Striker Dragon to just not lock yourself. Pisty can also be an option, but you also need to run another Dragon Lick if you decide to do that. Isolde is 100% necessary. Cross Sheep because it's cheap, and Baguska are the cards that I would recommend to 100% have at least bare bones, and then just work from there whatever collection that you have.
Okay. So there's in the extra deck, those are the staples, and then you can just choose to do whatever you want with the extra deck. Because I was actually struggling with knowing how important some of the extra deck cards were. But you're saying things like...
Exactly. And sometimes you just also use Prosperity and you banish like 3 to 6 of them. So
yeah,
like,
for sure.
I mean, when you have a good extra deck, sometimes people like to only banish 3, which is still enough because it's still a pot of duality effect. But you do have the option to banish 6 pretty easily here if you feel like you just don't need cards. Like, for example, like I was saying, for people like are watching and like want this cheap, you can always just like, okay, I'm just going to cut, I don't know, like, you know, instead of your list like running all of these extra deck monsters, I'm just going to put my garbage cards, still run Prosperity, and you have targets that you don't feel bad of banishing.
Yeah,
so
for
that's
sure.
also an option for you.
Okay, no, that's for sure. So basically you're saying this is the best possible version. Are there some cards in your deck list that you think, okay, these might be able, like these can be cutted? For example, if I want to run 40 cards and I want to add, for example, 2 Call by the Graves, are there any cards that you say, okay, these are less important than others? Because there are some cards that I want to cut, but I obviously don't know the most important ones and which ones can be cut easy.
What do you want to run in your deck?
So basically, I want to run at least 3 Ash Blossoms, 3 Maxis, and 2 Call by the Grave. That's basically what I want to run as negate cards. And also, I want to run the Call by the Grave just to make sure I don't get cucked on my turn and I can actually use my cards. So I am trying to also play the Pot of Prosperity instead of the Foolish Burial and Terraforming for now, and maybe even 1 Chaos Space because I don't own it. But then I am asking, like, if I want to cut things, is something like Photon Trasher the first one you cut, or other cards you cut first?
Okay, so like I said, first and foremost, Chaos Creator, if you don't really want it that much, you can decide to cut it specifically if you feel you don't really need the card that much.
Okay.
Another thing that you can cut is technically the Photon Trasher, although I do not recommend to cut Photon Trasher because A, it's not really expensive, B, just really doing well for the deck, I think. But a card that you can cut definitely is like, if you feel like you don't want 2 of these because you feel they're not necessary, is Butter Spy, although, like I said, you kind of need a little bit of a balance between light and dark, so... Of course. Chaos Creator is definitely a card that I would say that you, if you don't really have the ability to kind of run it or don't want it, is just a card that you can cut down. Okay. At the very least, that one is pretty easy to cut down.
So that would be the first one.
Scenarios.
That would be the first one you cut, and after that you would cut start to look cut the Blue Mountain Butter Spy or the Photon Trasher.
Because those are extenders, they're good, but they're not like the main core part of the deck, basically.
Yeah, okay, I got you. No, I for sure want to thank you for your time and explain this because, like, there's no... You actually didn't need to do any of this, and it really helps to have some other view about it because I don't really have a lot of experience on the other decks. So I do really want to say I appreciate you helping me out. Even though, like, even if this wasn't for a video or something, this was really fun and helpful for me. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching this video again. The support has been unreal. Let me know if you like this format where I bring an expert to help me build the deck and give some more info or not. And I might be able to make more videos on it in the future. Please leave it in the comments. Feel free to voice your opinion about it if you like it or not. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have a blessed day. Peace.